Chadwick, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Benny, how's it going? Great to be with you.
Okay, so first off, you are kind of the Chad meme. You have a beard. You have a beard. First name's Chad. So, congratulations.
Thank you. That's the greatest compliment I could possibly get, I think.
Two, the greatest Chad thing to possibly do would be to be the official Tucker Carlson biographer. You have a brand new book out. I think we should just pop it up on screen. Everyone needs to go get it immediately. And perhaps, given your incredible access that you've gotten to Tucker, you could preview for us what we're going to see tonight with the Tucker-Trump interview. What should we expect?
Well, it's funny because, Tucker was never like a throne kisser when it came to Trump. And even some people who were still on Fox very much were that. You either passionately hated President Trump or you would just do anything to kiss his rump and get on his good side. Tucker was always someone who very much, I think, was interested in Trumpism and this sort of populist approach and what Trump stood for without necessarily making it all about the man. So I think that sort of makes him, a good place for this interview tonight. I think and hope that he'll ask difficult questions as Trump would have gotten in a debate, and maybe we'll get in debate in future. But also, I think Trump probably feels like he's going to get more of a fair shake here than on that other network, where, it seems pretty clear that had he appeared, it would just be 8-9 other people taking shots at him all night, trying to bring down his popularity and raise their own. I can't really imagine what the point otherwise would be to have him in that debate.
Yes. And many people have been asking this, is it the greatest revenge arc in American history? Because I have a feeling that Tucker Carlson, who has landed, Devin Archer, anyone would have taken that interview. And that is the most coveted interview, perhaps in the media landscape for, a matter of weeks this summer. Tucker Carlson gets it, right? Heads of state, rappers. It's almost like Tucker is a hotter commodity after Fox News. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's amazing, and this really dovetails also with the debate tonight, and that Tucker has really become, since his show was taken off the air, figurehead for independent media eclipsing mainstream media. And this is no more clear than it seems that independent media is playing the predominant role already in this election cycle, particularly in the primary. Ron DeSantis even announced his candidacy on Twitter. That really annoyed Fox News. They wanted that. Also, Vivek Ramaswamy and RFK Jr. both announced their candidacy on Tucker's show. Tucker was always I think part of his success for the show. There are many reasons, but one of them was he was this bridge between old media and new media. He brought the internet to television and television to the internet. And since they kicked him off, a lot of people who never would have been on cable or cared about cable or who were only there for Tucker have now left. And we're seeing now that independent media is taking the lead on everything. Mainstream media is playing catch up. And in some cases, and with one network, they can't even report on what Tucker is doing and the news he's breaking, like that Devin Archer interview.
That's fascinating. What a great point, Chadwick. Okay, so this is my question to you is has Fox News even mentioned that Donald Trump, don't they have an obligation to their audience to note that Donald Trump is speaking with Tucker tonight? I don't think they've even mentioned that.
Well, you would think. So there is a source inside Fox, and I'm telling you this for the first time, just told me he still works there, that they are totally banned from all shows are banned from even acknowledging that Trump will appear on this show. Whatever happens on the show, if Trump breaks news, they can't mention it. There's been a policy in place since Tucker has taken off the air that you can't say his name on air. And he's like Voldemort. He's like that. He who shall not be named. And explicitly, everyone at Fox was told they cannot mention this or what happens on it. That's there are a lot of really good people at Fox. I used to be on the network a lot. I'm not talking about the executives, but there's a lot of people there who consider themselves real journalists. They're very good people. They take their work seriously. And this is most frustrating to them. They can't report on the news, all because of this vendetta that the network has against its former top host.
Could you please peel back the onion layer as to what happened with Trump and Tucker? There is so much fake news out there, legitimate fake news. People essentially manufacturing narratives to help themselves out and using this. Can you set the record straight, please?
Oh, absolutely. So I was, I think you're probably mostly referring to these text messages, these private text messages that were made public as part of discovery in the Dominion lawsuit, in which Tucker was saying things like, I hate him passionately, and referring to Trump and saying other things, he drives me crazy. I don't remember what else he was saying. As it would happen, I was physically with Tucker working on this book when those text messages were made public. So I was getting like the real-time reaction, his producer saying, hey, look at this, showing him the news story. And of course, I asked Tucker extensively about his thoughts on Trump, about the text messages, put basically every word of it into the book because I thought it was so interesting. And I mean, Tucker's just so fascinating anyway. But my initial, so that was definitely, and still to this day, is being used as kind of to drive a wedge between Trump and his supporters. Saying like, look, and also paint Tucker as some sort of fraud and whatever. Now that I know Tucker so well, over a year and a half, I worked on this book and spent time with him. He's a very, very impulsive and passionate guy. And even before I got to talk to him about this stuff, when I was seeing these things, I just thought, well, that's like no different than something I would text a friend of mine when Trump does something that frustrates me, even though I'm, not ashamed to say I very much support the man. But, I think it was like blowing off steam moment. I mean, if people published every text message we sent, what could you get out of that? So that's not even really trying to diminish it. I think that's just totally honest, especially when you know the sort of person Tucker is. And in the book, I got him talking, extensively about Trump. He is not afraid to say where he thinks Trump fails as both a leader and where he failed as president, and also where he shines and what his biggest strengths are and what he likes most about him. So I think it's good he has a balanced approach to President Trump and doesn't just want to be a sycophant to him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think that creates a far more interesting interview environment, right? People are most likely going to, I cannot imagine somebody who would prefer to watch the GOP debate tonight, a Trumpless GOP debate right now, would prefer to watch that programming over a Tucker-Trump interview.
Yeah, and for Trump to further troll Fox News, he's now arranged for his arraignment to be tomorrow in Georgia. So just when Fox was counting on getting the headlines from the debate, well, all the news is going to be focused on Fulton County, and nobody's going to care, especially without Trump there. I do think that probably the real winners in the debate, if in this situation, if there are any, are probably all the other candidates except for Chris Christie, who now can actually maybe, instead of focus on attacking Trump, they can try to deliver their vision for America and sell whatever voters are watching on their story. They won't be so distracted by Trump in the room. But I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing many sound bites tomorrow. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting, but I'm not sure what's going to happen that's really going to get people entertained and amused and provoke thought and discussion.
So there's one soundbite that we play on the show often, which is Tucker Carlson elucidating out of Mike Pence this commentary that he doesn't care about what's happening in America. It's not my concern, right? Has become almost a bumper sticker slogan and has effectively ended Mike Pence's career, right? He can't get over 2% in the polls now. And many people, this crystallized what they already thought of Mike Pence. But I suppose you would have an interesting perspective on this. Tucker Carlson would never have been able to have that moment were he still with Fox. I guess undergirding this idea that he's more powerful now and more relevant now. Would you agree?
It certainly seems that way. I mean, he completely destroyed Mike Pence's political career. And thank goodness we all got to see that. I mean, the man said he doesn't care about Americans suffering. Twice he said it.
Yes!
Not my concern, not my concern. He reiterated it. My jaw was on the floor when I saw that, but way to get a politician off their toes and I think be honest about who they really are. But I mean, funny enough, I asked Tucker about Mike Pence when we were writing the book. Tucker's known Pence for many years. He was a regular on Crossfire back in Tucker's CNN days. And Tucker's response that we put in the book was something like, he's the creepiest person I've ever met. And then he goes into how there's just absolutely nothing sincere about this man. Maybe that was his sincere moment. But we would never have known that. And not even just to bully Mike Pence, but the fact that that's probably exactly how so many people in our leadership class, both in media and in Washington, feel completely. Of course, that's how they feel, and so including the president himself. And now we have one of them who's very prominent, just outright telling us.
I mean, I suppose there is so much value in seeing who people truly are. When someone tells you who they are, believe them, right? As the old adage goes.
Right, for sure.
Chadwick, final question for you. What does this moment mean? You've taken the time, and as you said, put in 2 years of work on this particular moment. And you happen to be one of those people who are just really in the right spot at the right time. And I don't think you were expecting Tucker Carlson to part ways with Fox News in the midst of you previewing your book here. two-part question. Why did that happen? Like, why did that happen? And then two, what is the media ecosystem going to look like going forward with what Tucker is about to build?
So yeah, I mean, weirdly, I was a guest on his final episode on April 21st, which of course we didn't know was going to be the final episode of the show. And I think that it's specifically going forward, Tucker is, they're raising money to start their own media company, probably a subscriber-based service. Justin Wells, his executive producer, says that people can count on seeing a lot more Tucker than they ever saw on Fox News when that's finally allowed to happen. But of course, Tucker's still an employee of Fox News. He's still getting a paycheck every week. He's still under contract. That expires December 2024, conveniently right after the next presidential election, which brings me to your other question. Why was he taken off the air and what happened? I mean, it's inarguable, in my opinion, at this point, that it was ideological. And of course, it happened 6 days after the Dominion suit. Tucker was, of course, not pushing those theories. In fact, the only reason why Tucker's private messages were subpoenaed was because Dominion wanted to argue that reasonable people like Tucker Carlson knew that the claims that the voting machines are rigged were BS. So, that's, he wasn't one of these people pushing it. Other people at Fox were, they still have jobs. It was purely ideological, 100%. Fox brass does not like Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson is, as one liberal called him, that I quote in my book, the high priest of Trumpism, which I think they meant as an insult, but I don't think that's an insult. But he was that voice. He was that perspective in mainstream media, that counter-narrative populist perspective in mainstream media, which was to say its place in the official approved national discourse. So now that he's off of that and is never going back to mainstream media, I think that's why his removal from Fox felt like a death for so many people, because that perspective is no longer in a place that our leaders are paying attention to. So what does it look like going forward? I mean, we're seeing this, as I'd mentioned, mainstream media becoming subservient to independent media. But, Fox is obviously not going to go lightly. Any mainstream media wouldn't. And our leaders are still in this place where they truly care what mainstream media and the corporations think. Now someone like Tucker can be more easily ignored by the leadership class, even though that's where the people are tuning in. They're tuning into shows like yours. They're not tuning into CNN and other places. So it's going to take a massive cultural shift, but it truly feels like we're on the cusp of something really big right now in this country. And this, the headlines of the last few months, there's some sort of big sea change happening that I don't know the exact outlines of, but I think a lot of people feel it.
That sounds like your next book.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Thanks for the idea. I've been trying to think what I might do.
I will say this, not to filibuster here, but you just brought up such a fascinating point. The Republican senators still crawl all over themselves and debase themselves to go on Meet the Press.
Oh yeah.
They just they denigrate and humiliate themselves. Ball gag in mouth, gimp suit on, crawling on all fours, walking to Ginger Chuck Todd to stroke his goatee. Am I wrong?
It's so true. Well, it's the prestige economy. That's all it is. It's the prestige, and this is why half these people get into politics. They're extremely callow people with very low self-esteem who need to be fed attention all the time. And so, of course, they want to be on Meet the Press, even if 5 people watch, rather than going on some Twitter show that has 200 million people watching, because it's prestige. It's validation from this corporate entity that you're worthy to be on here. And you've got the makeup girl, and you've got the cameras, and you're treated like a princess, and maybe you get to eat snacks in the green room. So that's what it is. I mean, it's personality dependent on these people. It has nothing to do with actually caring, about the voters or what real Americans think. It's completely ego driven.
Yeah, it is wild. You and I should talk offline. I got some interesting stories about Republican senators and
totally.
It is wild to see the way that they treat like shows like ours and audiences like ours that are real and like active in their people, and they don't get it. I think it'll take a generational shift, quite frankly. And we all see what's happening with the age of members of Congress. It's never been older. And I think that's the problem. The age makes it lag, and so the younger members of Congress, they totally get it, right? And they're never invited on Meet the Press anyway. But they get it, but it's this class that is sticking around. They keep the system alive. That's what I can't figure out. They keep the system alive by feeding it, right? And they would be wise to let you write a book on them, come on our show, go on a Twitter show, as you say, where the people actually are. Chadwick Moore, where can people find your book? Everywhere, I assume.
Yeah, you can buy it anywhere you get your books. You can go to tuckerthebook.com if you want links to all those retailers. You can also order direct from the publisher there if you want. So tuckerthebook.com, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, Amazon, Sam's Club, anywhere you get your books.
And speaking of Twitter, sorry, not to dead name Twitter, X.
Dead-namer.
Follow Chadwick. Here's his profile. There's his 113,000 people. Can't be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. You got to follow Chadwick. He produces some straight fire also on his X account, Twitter account. So thank you, Chadwick, so much. Godspeed.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.